Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultan of Oman television. First, the headlines. Warring Afghans meet in Qatar to find peace after decades of war. And industrial estates in the Sultanate record 6.6 billion Omani Rial investments volume in 2019. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. The Afghan government and Taliban have formally opened their first ever peace talks in Doha, Qatar, in a bid to find a political solution after almost 2 decades of war. Key speakers at the opening ceremony today included the chairperson of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, Abdullah, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and the Taliban's co-founder and political chief, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. The event, which the warring parties dubbed historic, marks the first time the Taliban and Afghanistan's government have met face-to-face after nearly 20 years of conflict. The Taliban has always called the Afghan government a puppet of the West and refused to talk. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has strongly defended his government's plan to override sections of the Brexit deal that he negotiated with the European Union and accused the EU of having an extreme interpretation of the treaty that could jeopardise the UK's future. In a column published today in the Daily Telegraph, Johnson said the government's internal market bill is needed to end EU threats to impose a blockade in the Irish Sea that the Prime Minister asserted could carve up their country. With the government showing no signs of changing course, there are real concerns that ongoing talks on a future trade deal between the UK and the EU could collapse within weeks. The novel coronavirus has killed at least 916,372 people since the outbreak emerged in China last December. At least 28.5 million cases of coronavirus have been registered. Of these, more than 19 million people are now considered recovered. The United States is the worst hit country, with 193 and 16 deaths from 6.45 million cases. After the US, the hardest hit countries are Brazil with 130,396 deaths, India 77,472 deaths, Mexico 70,183, and the United Kingdom with 41,614 deaths. Europe recorded 220,716 deaths, Asia 113,177, the Middle East 39,576 deaths, and Africa 32,353 deaths. Latvia reinstated a compulsory 14-day quarantine for arrivals from neighbouring Estonia due to an upsurge in cases there. Princess Leonora, the 14-year-old heiress to the Spanish throne, who returned to school on Wednesday in Madrid, will have to observe a 2-week quarantine after a case of COVID-19 is detected among her classmates. More than 50 people are dead after landslides caused the collapse of a 3 artisanal gold mine in eastern Congo's South Kivu province yesterday. Heavy rains for days led to the disaster. A survivor said more than 50 people had been in the 3 mines, which are about 50 meters deep. Most of the dead were young people. Artisanal mining quarries are often unsafe in eastern Congo and the Kazan region. Women and children also work in the mines to make ends meet. Deadly collapses occurred earlier this year in Maniema in Katanga, killing at least 18 people. Still to come on a news bulletin. The 5th edition of the public speaking competition OSSV Talks is organised virtually in Australia. Welcome back to the news from the Sultan of Oman television. By the end of last year, the total volume of project investments of the public establishment for industrial estates, Madain, reached 6.6 billion Omani Rials. More details in the following report.
The public establishment for industrial estates, Madain, continues to achieve positive results and remarkable growth on various indicators. The total volume of project investment reached 6.6 billion Oman riyals, with a growth of more than 1.5% by the end of last year compared to 2018. The number of workforce in all Madain industrial cities exceeded 61,000, with 34% Omanization rate, while the number of investment projects reached 2,313, ranging from existing projects under construction and projects that have been allocated with spaces. The total area of the industrial cities amounted to more than 114,000 square meters, of which 52% of the investable area was used. Besides, 135 plans were also approved last year. Within the program of enhancing partnership with the private sector, Rusail Industrial City was transferred to Oman Investment and Development Holding Company Mubadara to manage and develop this industrial city. Madain has also granted a number of permits, privileges, and facilities to the investment environment. Madain continued to support SMEs through the development and support of Omani youth to establish their own projects, allocating 10% of the total value of purchases and tenders to those institutions. Madain is currently developing its 2040 vision to be along the lines of Oman Vision 2040, to enhance its role in establishing world-class business cities while maintaining the Omani identity, and making them the government arm to enhance sustainable economic and social development through partnership with the private sector, to develop and operate business cities with integrated services, accommodating change and relying on the best technological solutions to meet business requirements while maintaining environmental standards. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
The National Center for Statistics and Information revealed that inflation in the Sultanate decreased by 1.34% in August due to the drop in costs of the main sectors such as accommodation, water, electricity, gas, and other types of fuel by 0.42%, transportation sector by 6.23%, and restaurant and hotel sector by 0.32%. Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion revealed an increase in the applications made from industrial investments for customs and income tax exemption. The ministry explained that the rise in the number of applications was due to the use of Invest Easy portal and buy-in system by investors. Applications made through ROP buy-in system from industrial establishments from GCC import customs exemptions reached 2,582 during the first half of this year. Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment stated 10 income exemptions applications made from industrial establishments were reviewed until the end of June. The Director General of Industrial stated that 276 applications for custom exemptions were approved. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion revealed that 35 Omani patent applications were received in the first half of this year. The ministry stressed that the Patent Cooperation Treaty contributes in providing protection to inventions in the Omani and international markets. The ministry added that the treaty contributes in completing various patent requirements and delaying the huge costs associated with international patent protection, since applications are filed in one language and at a lower fee. With the participation of Omani students in Australia and New Zealand, the Omani Student Society of Victoria, OSSV in Australia, organised the 5th edition of its public speaking competition, OSSV Talks, virtually. More details in the following report.
Due to the current situation of COVID-19 pandemic, the Omani Student Society of Victoria held its annual event, OSSV Talks, virtually. The event, which is inspired by the world-famous program TED Talks, came this year under the theme Manahil.
I was honored to be one of the participants at the event Manahil that was organized by Omani Student Society in Victoria. One of the main outcomes of this event, it allowed participants to share their thoughts and ideas through an interactive communication video. We had participants from New Zealand, Australia and Oman, as well as we had honored guests whom shared their thoughts and inspiration.
Various scientific, cultural and social topics were presented, the most prominent of which were scientific research ethics and the basics of analysis. The participants' talks also focused on environmental issues, including the culture of recycling and its importance in creating a positive impact on the environment.
Presenting in OSSB talk had definitely taught me a lot, especially when it comes to public speaking, as it was my very first time presenting to such a big audience, and presenting it virtually had also had its challenges, as I had to engage with an audience that I cannot see, but at the end it all was easier than it seemed in the beginning.
My participation in this event is a chance to foster the spread of great ideas. It aims to provide a platform for thinkers, visionaries, and teachers so that audience can gain a better understanding of these topics.
Digital forensic investigation, psychology, language, and culture were also among the themes presented at the event. Such discussions and presentations enrich students' academic skills and broadens their scientific and practical horizons. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Warring Afghans meet in Qatar to find peace after decades of war. And industrial estates in the Sultanate records 6.6 billion Omani Rial investments volume in 2019. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night.